What if I told you at the same time you could save money and make memories for you and your children with easy do-it-yourself sewing projects?
Tess Poe is joining us to show you how. She's the owner of Beehive Sewing Studio in Northampton. We're making a burp cloth that's really adorable, and coming up later we're going to show you how to make a maternity t-shirt.
That's exactly right. So I happen to have a lot of friends who are pregnant right now, and of course I make a lot of handmade gifts, and I was trying to think of some things that would be really accessible to folks, really easy for you to do. And so the first thing we're going to do are some decorated burp cloths. You can buy a package of what are called pre-fold cloth diapers that serve as burp cloths, and this is what most folks are using. And they're fine. They're white, they're fine, but the ones that are a little bit decorated are even nicer.
I will say I got hand-me-down decorated burp cloths, and they were my favorite because they were stylish and cute.
Exactly.
If you're going to have a baby burping on it, you want it to look cute.
Well, and you know what I imagine too? I'm not a parent, but I can imagine it's overwhelming. So when you have a little thing that you could say, oh, my friend gave this to me, it's a handmade thing, it gives you a little moment of peace and clarity.
And a little bit of beauty among all of whatever is burped up on the cloth.
Let's just say it.
Exactly.
We're adults here.
So in our samples, you see we've got a couple of pieces of fabric. Some folks will just cover the entire size of the burp cloth. They'll cut out a rectangle of fabric, then they'll stitch all around. I like to do some smaller pieces that are a little bit decorative. What scissors have we used on the edge of our fabric here?
Pinking shears.
Pinking shears. So you'll see pinking shears make these little notches. This is a great option for folks who don't have a lot of sewing skill or don't want to spend a lot of time folding and pressing a hem onto their fabric.
Yeah, that's both of us.
Yep.
That's right. And so just keep in mind that because this is going to be washed and used quite a lot of times, even with pinking shears, you might get a little bit of a frayed edge.
That's okay. There's also going to be some burped up stuff on it.
That's right.
So we're cool. We're fine.
That's right. That frayed edge I think
No.
looks kind of rustic, etc. You know, it's just a little bit of, you know, you've got a little bit of kind of like a fuzziness, you know, and that's fine. Not the end of the world.
Okay.
So for this, I'm going to just position this where I want it. Now I would recommend that you use some pins or that you use some clips of some kind, and you can do this by hand if you'd like, but I'm going to do this on the machine really quickly using a heavy-duty straight stitch. And all that means, every machine can do it, and the asterisk at the end of that sentence is that every machine from maybe the 80s on can do it. And what it is 3 straight stitches where there normally would be 1. And so you get this nice secure seam there. You can use a coordinating color thread if you'd like, but if you go the whole length of your piece of fabric, you get this adorable little add-on. Now, that's just a rectangle, and that's fine. But at some point, that might be a little bit boring. And so what if you wanted to do something just a little bit more creative? I have a piece of fabric here, and I've put a row of stitching across the top that is as long as the machine can go. And these are called basting stitches. So when we have long basting stitches, they will allow us, I'm going to do one more row here so that you can really see what's going to happen. They allow us to move the fabric on those stitches so that we can create some gathers or some ruffles.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, cute.
And so if you pre-gather,
It's like a curtain.
it is kind of like a curtain.
Now, is that the same principle, Ashley? What was the thing that we were talking about earlier in the office to make sure it's bunchy? Ruching?
Oh, ruching.
Ruching.
Is that a similar way to do ruching?
Look, Seth is stepping it up. This is a wonderful day.
This is my life now.
This is great. This is akin to ruching. Yes,
Okay.
gathering and ruching are, I think you can probably say that they're synonyms. So if you go ahead and gather your little piece of fabric, your decorative piece, you can then go ahead and stitch that onto your burp cloth.
Oh,
and then you
cool.
have something that has a little bit more design appeal, maybe. Again, you know, almost would look like a little bow.
Oh, I see.
But you can add something that's got a little bit of depth, a little bit of texture. Now, you know, again, this is going to be thrown in the wash quite a lot, and so that's, you know, it's going to get some use out of it. But you could be really creative with pleats and with folds. The other thing to think about is cutting out something that we've done before here on the show called fussy cutting.
I don't
Do you remember fussy cutting?
Probably when I was frustrated, you invented it.
So I'm going to give you a pair of scissors. Go ahead and just cut out one of these little elephants.
Oh.
So fussy cutting is when we have a fabric that has some really neat and interesting, you can cut the gray one if you'd like.
Like that?
You can cut from the edge.
See? Is that why it's called fussy?
Well, you've got a fabric that has some really prominent designs. You can go ahead and trim, and you can leave some extra on the outside of the design. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're more just kind of isolating a flower or a butterfly or an elephant.
This is going to take a while.
Yeah,
so we'll go to a commercial.
Well, it doesn't have to be perfect, but then, you know, we'll just kind of stitch, you know, around that item, and then you can have some little elephants on your burp cloth, or, you know, just some little things that make it a little bit nicer.
Very cool. So later in the show, we're also going to turn regular old t-shirts into maternity t-shirts. And this right here that you're looking at right now, it's the only bib you'll ever need. It's very advanced, but we're going to at least give you a look-see at how you could make it. Now, speaking of fashion...
Welcome back to Mass Appeal. We're back with Tess Poe, owner of Beehive Sewing Studio in Northampton. Tess.
Hello.
Nice to be back with you.
Yeah.
I wish I knew you when I was pregnant. I could have done this to so many shirts.
That's such a sweet thing to say. So we're going to do two things in this segment. First, we're going to talk about maternity clothes. So my understanding, maternity clothes are very expensive, and you only wear them for a couple of months. So one of the most common things you'll see in the summertime with pregnant women is a t-shirt that has just a little bit of ruching on the sides.
The word of the day.
And if we look at the sample, it's kind of hanging up over here, you'll see that it's got some sort of gathers on the side there. And that's what gives some extra space for the pregnant belly.
And you can do this to a currently existing shirt that you have in your closet.
You can. And so all we're going to do, we've got this lovely blue t-shirt here. I'm going to turn it on its side so you can see the side seam here.
And it's inside out.
It's inside out. And I have taken a piece of 1/4-inch elastic. Now, Seth, right by you, you've got 1/4-inch elastic and 1/8-inch elastic.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you are more advanced, or if you would rather just have a gentler ruching, you can use that smaller elastic. The thing about elastic is it only works if you sew it on and stretch it out. So if you just sew it on flat, nothing is going to happen. So I'm going to sew this on.
So you kind of stretch it to the max and then you sew it.
Right. And you know, you may not have to go all the way to the max. You know, that's
little
that might be more than you might need.
Right.
When you sew it on, you'll want to use a zigzag stitch. Again, if you don't have a machine at home and you want to do this by hand, go ahead and do it by hand.
That's it's not a lot of space to walk on fabric.
That's right, exactly. But the goal here is to give yourself that ruching so that you can have the extra space.
And it makes it so that it fits better, because you know the last thing you want to wear when you're pregnant is something that looks like a trash bag.
That's right.
So it gives it more of a style, so you feel like you can still
That's right. And so if we turn this back so that it's right side out, you'll see, now sadly we don't have a pregnant person here to model this, but you'll see that we have this ruching here, and that's really all you need to make this a nice fitting maternity t-shirt. And the best part, I'll show you the inside again, is that because we just used this little zigzag stitch, you can go ahead and take that out if you think that you want to wear this shirt after the baby comes.
Oh, cool.
Or if you want to take this out and give this shirt to Goodwill, or, you know, there's lots of different uses for the shirt. So it doesn't mean it's a maternity shirt forever and ever.
It's like a temporary alteration that you can just take out.
Exactly. And that's the nice thing about elastic. You know, if you have a garment, particularly when you're pregnant and your body is, you know, is very different from what it usually is. You know, if you see that you need a little bit more space, or, you know, you need a little bit more shape to something, don't be afraid to stitch some elastic into the seams, whether it's a skirt or a shirt or a dress, whatever it may be. A little bit of elastic might go a long way.
Very cool.
So,
very
stylish for mom.
Now, the other thing that we have to show, it's a little bit too elaborate to show you how to make on the air, but it's tearing up social media. It's the only bib you'll ever need.
Let's hope it's tearing up social media.
Yeah, I think it's so hot right now.
So I have to say, this style of bib was my favorite with my kids, because you can, there's 4 different...
Do you want to show it off, Ashley?
Yeah, I will. Well, right now the camera's just showing it off there. But I will show now. So you made this, Tess.
I did.
And you could make this if you wanted to. So this is what it looks like. And there's one surface for the baby to dirty, second surface, flip it over, a third, and then a fourth. Gross? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe it is gross. But I'll tell you, when you're a busy mom and you need a bib, you'll flip that thing over and use the clean side.
Heck yeah.
And the other interesting design feature about this is, I don't know if you can see, but there's magnets here, so the magnets help it stick together so that you can have those 4 different sides.
And what I like too about it, Tess, is that the baby can't pull it off this way.
That's right. So. That's exactly right. Now, one quick note for folks who maybe want to try to make this at home, just be real careful when you're stitching those magnets in. If your needle hits a magnet, the needle's going to break. Do I say this from experience? Sadly, I do. So be careful when you're sewing the magnets. The other thing is that I didn't know this until I started researching this design a little bit and getting some supplies. There are things called double-sided magnets, which is the critical thing, because if you've got these magnets here, they'll repel one another if they're not double-sided magnets. So you've got to be, just be careful when you're assembling all of your supplies. The other quick thing to note is that you can use fancy, organic, beautiful cotton, but remember, we talked about this when we did beach cover-ups. If you've got some toweling, if you've got some older towels that you might want to use, that's a great absorbent utility fabric. So cut that up for your bib, cut that up for your burp cloth. Terry is a great fabric for these kinds of projects.
Yeah, and it cleans well,
and it cleans well.
Tess,
Great.
Thank you so much. So we've added ruching to a shirt. We have the only bib you'll ever need, and we have an easy burp cloth. Thank you so much.
Now I just need a sewing machine.
And another baby.
Right now.
I had all that skill.